Salufalava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Swiswiki. Coming up, what relevance does the Treaty of Waitangi have for Pasifika? Also,
well, you can just put yourself in her shoes and see how you would feel and how your family would feel if that happened to you.
Fiji MP retains her seat despite a video leak, and
you represent the heartbeat of an entire Pacific Ocean, and as we know, we are one ocean, one people.
It's beauty pageant season in the Pacific. This week marks Waitangi Day in New Zealand, where each year thousands flock to the northland town of Paihia to commemorate, remember and celebrate the signing of the country's founding document, Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Waitangi has long been a day of controversy and politics, and there will be no shortage of robust discussions from the treaty grounds. I spoke to Māori academic Professor Claire Charters and began by asking her what's the difference between a founding document and a constitution.
We don't have a written constitution, but we still have a constitution. So unlike, for example, the US, where they have a written constitution with their rights and set out there in the separation of powers, we don't have that singular document, but we still have a constitution, which includes Te Tiriti o Waitangi, which includes our human rights legislation, which includes the Constitution Act, and also case law, I would argue also decisions from the Waitangi Tribunal. So we do have a form of constitution that's particularly unique and not being written in one singular document, but we do have something that we could call a constitution.
As we've seen in the news, it's been quite heated with the government officials arriving on the treaty grounds. What do you make of the current discussions and debate around the treaty and its principles?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this year is unsurprisingly very pitched. We don't have our Prime Minister there, but especially given the raft of legislation that this coalition government has been putting through, that's going through Parliament, including, of particular note, the Treaty of Waitangi Principles Bill, which is obviously antagonistic to Māori rights and has caused a lot of consternation, to say the least, amongst Māori. So it's no surprise to me that things are particularly heated this year at Waitangi.
So in recent times, we've seen an increase of Pasifika community members and leaders back the treaty and what it stands for tangata whenua. And although there's a deep connection between Pasifika and Māori people, what relevance does the treaty have for Pasifika when they're not in partnership with the Crown?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think like all peoples, but including Pasifika peoples, that Te Tiriti o Waitangi gives I guess the authorisation for our tangata Te Tiriti peoples to come to Aotearoa, New Zealand. It was the basic premise on which settlement was permitted into Aotearoa. But I think, as you mentioned, the relationship between our Pasifika brothers and sisters and Māori is particularly unique and particularly close. And while I think Pasifika peoples are also part of tangata Te Tiriti, they are also part of us as Polynesian and Pasifika peoples.
Interestingly, you also pointed out in another outlet that Seymour's bill has strengthened the kotahitanga or unity movement. And if this bill doesn't pass, do you see the movement continuing on? Absolutely, and I think that you can see that in Waitangi today, or at least the reports I've been hearing from Waitangi today. I think this has galvanised Māori and also our tangata Te Tiriti people in a way that we haven't seen for many generations or many decades now, and I can't see that stopping. I also can't see at least the certain parties in the current coalition backing down on this sort of attack, I guess, on Te Tiriti rights, on Indigenous people's rights under international law. And that then further galvanises and creates unity with, I guess, people who are seeking to uphold those rights and also uphold the constitutional foundations of our country. Fiji's ruling party will not dump a former cabinet minister whose private video was leaked. MP Linda Tambuya's huge popularity is part of the reason the People's Alliance Party made the controversial decision on Tuesday. The video went viral last year, prompting Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka to remove Ms Tambuya from his cabinet on 26 December. However, the People's Alliance Party's General Secretary, Silam Balawa, said Ms Tambuya never intended to discredit the party. Mr Balawa told Margot Staunton what was behind the decision.
There's been a lot of opinions expressed from both sides of the spectrum, from those who wanted her expelled and from those who wanted her to be not punished in any way. The party had the discussions and all views were aired, and there were representatives from all regional areas within the party demarcations. So we had representatives even from overseas, from New Zealand, from Australia, and they all had their say according to what party members wanted, and that was the consensus. Especially in that the video was seen that its release was not intended by Honorable Tambuya. That was done by people unknown, for which she had reported it to the police, and she had sent in an apology. She has apologized to the party leadership, the executives and its members for those who may have felt offended or hurt by the release of the video, but that was not her intention. That was a private video between her and her husband or partner, spouse, whatever, and that was not meant for anyone else. A mischievous thing that happened, whatever damage has caused to the party, she has apologized for that, and the party taking into account her long history with the party and the support that she had given in the past during the campaign towards the last election and her performance in Parliament, and even before that, established the people in support for the unions, has agreed through the democratic process that exists within the party mechanism, that with the outcome that has been released to the media yesterday.
Was there any resistance from some of the older members of the party?
There were, but they were all part of the discussions, and at the end of the day, everybody agreed with the statement that was put out.
Okay, you mentioned in the statement that Ms Tambuya and her family had suffered as a result of this. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, you can just put yourself in her shoes and see how you would feel and how your family would feel if that happened to you.
What did she say at the hearing about it?
Well, that would be delving too much. Like, I had a private conversation with her and we discussed it, and I don't think I should elaborate that for the whole world to hear, because it's personal and we want to keep it at that and respect people's privacy.
Okay. Is part of the reason the party's keeping her on is because she's such a popular politician?
That is one of many reasons, not the only reason.
But if the party expelled her, she'd like to take all those votes with her.
Well, politics is about ideology and doctrine, so you cannot speak for each individual voter. Some may be there for personal reasons, some may be there because of friends, and some may be there because they believe in what the party stands for and they believe that so-and-so can deliver in regards to services to the public. The
party must recognise her popularity, though.
She is popular, yes, she is popular, especially with the younger generation.
In terms of her being demoted from cabinet, how did the executive feel about her being reinstated into the cabinet?
The executive goes only as far as being a member of parliament or having a seat in parliament. In regards to membership of cabinet, that is by law the sole prerogative of the prime minister, so the party will not interfere into that.
Fiji police are still investigating the leaked video. Tambuya had lodged a complaint with the cybercrime unit, saying her phone had been stolen and hacked. A special select committee in the Cook Islands is looking at whether the country should be declared a Christian nation. The proposal was put forward by Cook Islands Christian Church. It comes after a mosque set up in a home was discovered by Cook Islands News in Rarotonga, but the pin marking it on Google Maps has since been removed. The Select Committee chairperson, Tingika Elikana, told Caleb Fotheringham some members of the community were concerned to find there was a mosque in Rarotonga.
There are interest in the community which raised it with Parliament, and it's an issue that Parliament sees fit to establish a select committee to look into it. I think the issue from those advocating for changes are that they want to have a provisions into our constitution which clearly declares that the Cook Islands is a Christian nation, notwithstanding the fact in the preamble of our current constitution that there's also a declaration there that the Cook Islands adheres to Christian principles.
What would that mean? What would change in the Cook Islands if it was declared a Christian nation?
I think that's something the committee, that's why Parliament sees fit to establish the select committee to actually get down to the bottom of what's those pushing for this change really meant. And that's we are yet to hear from them. And while we have established the committee, but we haven't had the chance to hear from these people, from those proposing the changes or advocating for the changes, to see what's really they are after in terms of their issues that they raised with Parliament.
Who in the community specifically is pushing for this change?
I think the letter came, as you probably, from those interested, from the Secretary of the Cook Island Christian Church, and also from our Religious Advisory Council, which provided support for that letter from the Cook Island Secretary of the Cook Islands Christian Church for Parliament to have to look into this issue.
Right. And another thing that I've seen in the Cook Islands recently is that there was a mosque established. I don't know how established it was, but there was at least a pin on Google Maps, and there was a small group of people who came and prayed in the mosque. And I understand that created a lot of discussion. Is it fair to say that this proposal came from that mosque existing in the Cook Islands?
I think that's a very fair comment. That's a very fair comment to make in terms of how this issue came about. I think it's more a response to that when it was published in the papers, and some of our people in the community have some concerns, so they took their concerns to Parliament, and hence the establishment of the Select Committee.
And on the mosque front, is that mosque still in existence now?
I think, Caleb, you know more than I. In fact, I haven't even seen the mosque around. I guess it's just a residential place for someone who believes in the Muslim religion, and had a pin on Google Map. I think the only thing I learned of it is, from what the papers are saying.
Yeah, right. So we're in the same boat here. I guess what I'm sort of wondering is this proposal to declare the Cook Islands a Christian nation, is this to restrict other religions from being able to be practiced in the Cook Islands potentially?
As I said, it's an issue that's raised with the Select Committee, and the Select Committee will have to look at it. And as I said, we still have to hear from those pushing the issue, and then from them the committee will look at what they really want, and then look at the legal framework, and look at how it will impact on the country as a whole, and in that respect provide our findings to Parliament, who will make the ultimate decision.
And under current legislation, can anybody practice various religions in the Cook Islands? Is that all permitted?
I think you're well aware of Article 64 of our Constitution, which recognize freedom of religion and certain fundamental human rights reflected in international conventions like the United Nations Charter on Human Rights and the International Convention on Political and Economic Rights, and those are reflected in Article 64 of our Constitution, and people has been practicing, and that's the current legal framework that we have at the moment.
The spokesperson for the Rarotongan Muslim community has since spoken to Cook Islands News, who has questioned the love and compassion of the movement, pushing for the country to be declared a Christian nation. The Miss Pacific Islands Pageant 2025 began on Sunday, kicking off an exciting campaign for the beauty queens vying for the crown. This year, there are 8 contestants, including the Solomon Islands, Samoa, Tonga, American Samoa, Kiribati, Papua New Guinea, Nauru, and the Cook Islands. Originally called the Miss South Pacific pageant, it was established in 1987 by the Samoan government. The name was changed to Miss Pacific Islands in 2014 to expand its reach across the Pacific region. Grace Fever-Ai has more.
Hello, Algeta. Malo lele. Salo falava. Kamna binani Maori, everybody.
Hello, Algeta. Nagutla abinon.
Ekamawi ramo yakmi me mat.
Kia orana.
Mulu, 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 pats.
Every reign must eventually conclude, and this week marks the end of Fuati no Moemoana Safa to Oshwenki's journey as Miss Pacific Islands after winning last year's pageant in Nauru. Miss Pacific Islands Fuati no Moemoana says the crown underscores the importance of cultural preservation.
The great thing about Miss Pacific Islands is that you don't just represent one island. You represent the heartbeat of an entire Pacific Ocean. And as we know, we are one ocean, one people. And this platform is for us to continue to really embrace that unity connection so that we never lose our connection here in the Pacific.
Safa to Oshwenki expressed pride in all the contestants and says keeping the contestants in prayers will sustain them as they prepare for the crowning night.
All good things must come to an end, and it's that time where I have to pass the light to a new woman who will lead us for the next year and show her unique beauty. All of these ladies are so beautiful. I'm very proud of them. They speak with such intelligence, and you can really see that true, authentic Pacific spirit that they have. I want you to keep them in your prayers and thoughts this week as they go into the pageant.
Miss Solomon Islands Elsie Polosovai says that the pageant brings positive visibility and empowerment.
But that's the beauty and the positivity that comes with platforms such as the Miss Pacific Island pageant. It sort of opens up some positive light and gives a little bit of empowerment to the women and youth.
Miss Samoa Tara Yeremia Allen emphasised her intent to prioritise youth voices.
One thing that I hope that I'll continue to do this week and beyond the pageant is highlight our youth voices that are often leading the charge in these areas.
Miss American Samoa Pauliana Felice Vitale mentions that the pageant is a learning opportunity for communities who aren't familiar with the US territory she represents.
And a lot of people have asked us, what is the difference between Samoa and American Samoa? The only difference between my sister and I are the politics. Samoa is independent, and we are a territory of the U.S. Otherwise, e tasi lo ta alunga, e tasi lo ta fala, tasi lo ta ie afu. We share the same bed, the same pillow, and the same blanket, same culture, and the same love for each other.
Tavuli News reporter Jeremy Guao says that the pageant has been well received in the Solomon Islands.
And the significance of it for Solomon Islands, especially for young people, is to see how women become empowered in their own levels, especially when it comes to beauty pageant like this. So it's going to be a big one for Solomon Islands.
Miss Tonga Rachel Guttenbiel encourages young Pacific women to pursue their dreams.
So I encourage you to step forward, take chances. The opportunities is so much out there if you just believe in yourself and take the first step.
Miss Pacific Islands 2025 will be crowned on Saturday, 8th of February. That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, Tofa Suifua.